I spoke about my concerns with Ubisoft's Splinter Cell remake in my last news video, as they're making changes to the narrative for a more modern audience, whatever that means. And well, things are not getting better, as the project has now lost its game director. After 11 years, David Grivell announced his departure from Ubisoft, saying it was time for him to go on a new adventure. While we await to see Sam Fisher's inevitable return, my expectations are increasingly getting lower and lower with each new revelation surrounding this remake. However, one remake that does look like it's doing a great job at enhancing the original experience is that of Dead Space, which recently revealed some new gameplay. While I can't show off much of the beautiful gore and action here, this looks like it'll be worth the wait. Konami, doing absolutely nothing of value with their beloved franchises, has announced plans to launch a platform for trading in-game NFTs. Surprise, surprise, because of course they are. And actually, as of recording this video, it looks like Konami is doing something with one of their franchises, that of course being Silent Hill, which has been dormant for about a decade. But just the other day was announced a new event happening later in the week, in which it appears multiple projects will be announced. And on the official Silent Hill Twitter account, in your restless dreams, do you see that town? The latest updates for the Silent Hill series will be revealed during the Silent Hill transmission on Wednesday, October 19th. So depending on when you watch this, we'll learn about the future of Silent Hill. Right now, based on rumors and leaks, we know that potentially a playable teaser, Silent Hill 2 remake, and plans for a full sequel could be announced. We do know that the original Silent Hill artist Masahiro Ito is involved, and there have been for a while now rumors that Bloober Team is leading development on one of these projects. But most importantly, Konami is doing something with some of their beloved IP, finally. And additionally, in some other big news, G4 TV, the gaming network, which made a comeback I believe late last year, is coming to an end already. Yes, the low viewership has been enough for Comcast and they have pulled the plug, employees finding out unfortunately through social media, but I don't really have any strong opinions about G4 TV. Sure, there's been some outrage over some of the remarks made by casters a number of months ago, but G4 TV, ultimately the problem they had is that they never proved why they needed to exist in the year 2022. About a decade and a half ago, there was limited gaming coverage, and they filled that void. But they came back and they were a shell of themselves, and it just wasn't the same, especially now in the space that's dominated by Twitch streamers and YouTubers. So rest in peace once again, I suppose. Final Fantasy VII's Battle Royale is shutting down. If you didn't know, this game had a Battle Royale that makes two of us. Square Enix made the announcement the other day saying Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, which was released on mobile last year, will close in January. Just another example of not every game needing a bloody Battle Royale mode or spin-off. 343's use of its proprietary Slipspace engine may be coming to an end, as multiple reports have claimed the studio is making the jump to Unreal Engine 5, which I think is probably for the best. Halo Infinite's development was messy, and one reason why was because of the development of Slipspace. This rumor follows news that the lead engineer behind the Slipspace engine, David Berger, had left the company. 343 has been undergoing some major internal leadership changes lately, with 343 head Bonnie Ross also stepping down last month, and Pierre Hintz, the man largely credited with helping course-correct the Master Chief Collection, being promoted to the new boss of 343 Industries. Assuming this engine change rumor is true, obviously Halo Infinite won't be making a jump to Unreal Engine, but future games and spin-offs likely will, hopefully ensuring a more smooth development process. Let's hope. While recent Battlefield entries have made me somewhat depressed with their lackluster quality, Embark Studios' The Finals may just fill the void. As one developer noted on Twitter, what happened to Battlefield? They left and made this. The free-to-play first-person shooter very clearly has that Battlefield DNA, but also has a greater degree of destruction and true chaos. It really is impressive. Currently, the game is in alpha, and we should be learning more about it soon, but so far so good. As for the actual franchise of Battlefield, EA's CEO Andrew Wilson recently admitted to investors that the last two entries did not deliver, but said that they believe there is great opportunity in the future because of the uncertainty surrounding Call of Duty right now. While Blizzard has been enjoying, as usual, a healthy dose of controversy with their newest release, which appears to be the new norm these days, it too is breaking records for them. Overwatch 2 has already been played by over 25 million players, with daily player count to nearly triple the first game's peak. It's impressive numbers, and with the lackluster marketing, it almost seems like the controversy surrounding this launch has been, at least for now, beneficial. Still though, whether or not players stick around remains to be seen. Reviews from critics have been mostly positive, while users are far more critical, with many taking aim at the game's atrocious monetization. Just because it is free to play now doesn't excuse just how predatory and greedy it has now become. The fact that so many are missing the old loot box system is quite telling. Blizzard, though, has said that the game's launch did not meet their expectations. I don't even know what those are anymore. But besides the monetization, the long server queues, and the phone number requirement, it has created frustration in the Overwatch community. Blizzard apologized the other day with giving players a couple of in-game cosmetics and double XP weekends. Compensation, I suppose, for the disappointing launch of Overwatch 2. Although I think most players would prefer seeing Blizzard actually listening to feedback and making adjustments to the game's monetization, but as we saw recently with Diablo Immortal, it's probably unlikely to happen. One mistake that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is attempting to avoid that Overwatch 2 just suffered is the frustration of a phone number requirement. While MW2 does still have the requirement, Activision has since clarified that it is only for the PC version, something that is not new, as the SMS policy is the same as the one that has been in place for Warzone on PC since May of 2020. Gotham Knights' release is nearly upon us, and while impressions haven't done much to quell concerns over the game's quality, especially with its generic open world, WB Games Montreal decided to throw a last-minute stinker with revealing on a Discord post of all places that the game does not have a 60 frames per second performance mode. It's locked at 30 FPS, and I'm just of the mindset that for a current-gen only game, that is disappointing, especially going from the beautiful and impressive graphics of 2015's Arkham Knight to something that doesn't look as good and won't run with higher FPS 7 years later. Maybe it's just me, but I really think it's time for 60 FPS to be the new norm for this industry. This revelation did explode on social media, with some gamers so upset that they canceled their pre-orders. We even got one truly wild take from a Rocksteady developer, you know, the company behind the Arkham games, who responded to the outrage by saying, "I wish gamers understood what 60 FPS means in terms of all the things they lose to make the game run that fast, especially taking into account that we have a current-gen console that's not much better than a last-gen one," which is a weird thing to say considering many games have launched with performance and quality modes this generation. This is not a rare thing, and should be what's expected these days. The developer did continue with his absurd tweets by defending the $70 price tag by saying, "I don't know if you knew this, but $60 in 2000 is $93 now due to inflation. We're undercharging you for games, and have been for 2 decades. Pay us what we're worth." The developer has since deleted his account for obvious reasons. The industry is making more money than ever, and dumbass takes like this acts like these companies aren't rolling in more cash than ever, thanks to the revolution or evolution of annoying microtransactions that in many instances has resulted in altered game design to fit these greedy schemes. So not entirely sure why this developer wanted to go full scorched earth with defending a game that he didn't even work on, but at least with Gotham Knights, my anticipation has fallen quite a bit, and we'll soon find out if these concerns and the other concerns I've had are warranted. So, the new Mario movie looks pretty a-okay. I dig the animation and most of the cast. Chris Pratt sounding like Chris Pratt, or I should say Linda from Bob's Burgers instead of Mario, was a choice, a bold one I would say, since it seems much of the internet wants to burn this movie to the ground because of it. But yeah, many iconic voice actors also came out and supported the true voice of Mario, Charles Martinet, and feeling it was disrespectful to have a Hollywood A-lister take his role. Even if they wanted to do a different Mario, it's not like Martinet doesn't have layers, as he voiced Skyrim's Parthenax. The more you know, I suppose, but there is a theme here in which voice actors are being treated like garbage by companies, something that we'll touch on more later in the video. And actually, let's dive into that now, because Bayonetta 3 is and has been one of the most highly anticipated games for the last couple of years. Recently, there was some impressions and previews shared, and there really is a lot of excitement behind this game until now. Something that a lot of players picked up on in some of the early trailers was that things sounded a little different with the main character of Bayonetta, and there had been some suspicions based on some previous tweets by Helena Taylor that she might not be returning to the role, and that was confirmed by Platinum Games a couple of weeks ago in a statement, as they said various overlapping circumstances made it difficult for Helena Taylor to reprise her role. And I think the assumption that a lot of people had was that, okay, well, Taylor, she's busy, she has some other projects she's doing, so they had to hire somebody else, and they chose Jennifer Hale, a highly acclaimed actress. She's done a lot of stuff. She's known for her role as Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect franchise and a number of other roles over the years, but a great actress and a great replacement if they had to do that. But the problem with Platinum Games' statement is that it appears to not be true to what actually happened behind the scenes, and it appears that the real reason why Taylor is not back is because of issues over pay, and how Platinum Games just totally disrespected her. Taylor, in a series of video tweets the other day, made the following accusations against Platinum Games.
The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. This is an insult to me. The amount of time that I took to work on my talent and everything that I have given to this game and to the fans. I am asking the fans to boycott this game and instead spend the money that you would have spent on this game donating it to charity. I decided to do it to stand up in solidarity with people all over the world who do not get paid properly for their talents. Fat cats cream off the top and leave us the rotten crumbs. I suffered from depression and anxiety. I worried that I was going to be on the streets. That terrified me so much that once I was ill. I am not afraid of the non-disclosure agreement. I can't even afford to run a car. What are they going to do? Take my clothes? Good luck to them.
Taylor's explosive accusations immediately blew up all over social media, many outraged by the way Platinum Games and Nintendo has treated Taylor and the fact that they basically lied about why she was not returning to reprise her role. We saw many video game actors and also developers speaking out in support of Taylor, and Jennifer Hale, who replaced Taylor on Bayonetta 3, released a statement saying the obvious, that she's under a non-disclosure agreement and really can't say much other than the fact that she had no idea about this whole ordeal, and she does in fact support every actor's right to be paid well. A number of hours later, I just thought this was interesting, but Hale linked to a thread which said that if you only hear one side of a story, you haven't heard the whole story. We've seen a couple of other actors say that there may be more to this than what Taylor has put out thus far. But this situation did get a lot more ugly after some of the remarks Taylor made about the executive director on Bayonetta, Hideki Kamiya, and the interaction that she supposedly had with him.
So I thought, you know what? I'm going to write to Hideki Kamiya. I'm going to write to him and ask him for what I'm worth. I know he read it because I got a reply. I got a reply saying that he values greatly my contribution to the game and that the fans really want me to voice it over, and the memory of first meeting me as Bayonetta is a memory I hold dear. So I thought, great. Thank God. That was when they offered me $4,000 US. Do you know, Platinum had the cheek to say that I was busy, that they couldn't make it work with Miss Taylor's schedule. Well, I had nothing but time.
Kamiya did respond on Twitter saying, "Sad and deplorable about the attitude of untruth. That's what all I can tell now. By the way, beware of my rules." And Kamiya is a very interesting figure on Twitter. If you criticize the man at all, he very much loves to use that block button. And he has this little rule that he has on his Twitter account: "I'm fed up with insects which never read my post/header pic and just keep posting. That's why I'm telling you not to post in languages other than Japanese." He seems to be very xenophobic. If you break the rules, that means you are a brainless insect and will be blocked immediately. Be careful. And Kamiya has been going on a blocking spree, not even responding to any of the criticism that he's receiving, and thus far he has decided not to explain what Taylor is lying about. This is an absolute nightmare for Platinum Games and Nintendo. This release is just a couple of weeks away, and now many on Twitter are saying that they're going to do exactly what Bayonetta is telling them to do. They will boycott Bayonetta 3. And this is nothing new for Platinum Games, this controversy. This year has been a very rough one for them. They openly said that they wanted to be acquired, they begged Microsoft to work with them again or bring back Scalebound. They put out one of the worst games of the year with Babylon's Fall, which I believe is going to be shutting down early next year, just a travesty of a release. And then they have this situation to deal with in which they just got exposed for their horrendous treatment of the lead actress of their beloved AAA franchise. As it currently stands, we await the inevitable Platinum Games and Nintendo statement. Based on Hideki Kamiya's immediate Twitter response, I think it's safe to say the companies will be disputing what Taylor has claimed. Still though, there remains some confusing aspects to this story, as hiring someone such as Jennifer Hale over Taylor comes with what one would assume is a hefty price tag, so this is a developing story, one that has created massive damage to Platinum Games' already shoddy reputation. But as Taylor noted in her videos, this is a franchise that she spent well over 7 years dedicated towards, and her voice helped generate over $450 million in revenue, something that sadly it appears was ignored. Rockstar Games' security issues lately have been a major problem, the company suffering another one recently in which their social club platform was seemingly compromised, resulting in various GTA Online players losing access to their accounts and having their GTA Online crews being deleted. Rockstar has been active with a fix with that ordeal, but a much bigger one was recently reported, and this appears to be further damage inflicted by the now infamous 17-year-old UK teen and his ransomware gang Lapsus that reportedly hacked Rockstar Games and stole various files related to GTA 6's development. As we discussed in a past news video, there is evidence pointing to these hackers doing much more than attacking just Rockstar and Uber. When negotiating to sell some of these stolen material before they went public with releasing those 90+ pre-alpha GTA 6 gameplay development videos, they also claimed to have access to a few other companies, which included the Bank of Brazil, DoorDash, and 2K Games. And with 2K Games, it appears the GTA 6 hackers did in fact gain access to personal data of players. In a statement about the breach, 2K Games said a third party had illegally accessed the credentials of one of its vendors to the help desk platform the company uses before accessing confidential customer details and sending malicious links containing malware to some players. Over a week ago, 2K Games began contacting those that had their accounts compromised and found that the unauthorized third party accessed and copied some personal data that was recorded about you when you contacted us for support, including your email address, help desk ID number, gamertag, and console details. They furthermore added that there is no indication that any of your financial information or passwords held on our systems were compromised. However, out of an abundance of caution, we encourage all of our players to secure their accounts by resetting passwords and enabling multi-factor authentication if they have not already done so. And it's important to note that this is just of those who had contacted 2K Games in the past. For those who received malicious links from 2K that contained malware, they essentially said change your passwords and get some good antivirus software and use it. While the 17-year-old UK teen was arrested last month by authorities over his recent hacking activities, there are multiple members that are a part of the Lapsus group, and how or if they're handling this stolen data is a mystery, something that is still of great concern considering what they alleged to have before they were taken down, which included, yes, Grand Theft Auto 6 source code. The gaming industry is truly growing up, and we're all getting older and older. As Bethesda celebrated the 25th anniversary of Fallout earlier this month, and later this month Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto will too celebrate its 25th anniversary. Two iconic franchises, two franchises with major fan bases, and one fan base is getting excited for a potential announcement for the next installment, that is obviously Grand Theft Auto 6, and with Fallout, it could be a while until we hear anything. There had been some hope that Obsidian may be announcing sometime in the near future development on a new Fallout spin-off, but they kind of shattered those hopes the other day while celebrating the anniversary, saying, before anyone asks, our plates are pretty full right now, so no, which is their indirect response to a Fallout New Vegas 2, which is unfortunate, but they are indeed working on a lot of projects right now. I believe they have like 7 games in development for the next 7 years, so yes, if we're going to be getting a new Fallout spin-off from them, it could be a while. This is a franchise that I do hope that Microsoft has some plans in the near future for. Fallout 76 certainly is not going to cut it, whether that be a remaster, a spin-off from somebody else, maybe like Arcane or In Exile Entertainment, somebody else, please come in and deliver a new Fallout experience. And also just the fact that Bethesda is going to be busy for the next who knows how many years. It's just, things look very bleak right now. And the way that CD Projekt Red has set out a studio just for Cyberpunk, I feel like Bethesda should have already done that for Fallout, but that has not happened, and I truly do think that is something that's going to have to change in the future, because I don't think these 15-year gaps between Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, it just isn't going to cut it. And now with Starfield added into the equation, and if Bethesda wants to do sequels with that, it just means that Bethesda needs to continue to grow, or we need some outside developers to jump in and fill some of the gaps with spin-offs, remasters, other stuff. It's not like I'm trying to advocate for the Ubisofting of Bethesda's IP. We don't need a new entry every other year. But certainly waiting 15 years from Fallout 4 to Fallout 5 is kind of rough, to say at the very least. As for Bethesda game studios themselves right now, we discussed this in a previous news video, but Skyrim Anniversary Edition on Switch recently launched, and it was an absolute train wreck. It's pretty much unplayable. Modders have since gone through the files and such, and they've pretty much discovered that this is an issue on Bethesda. It isn't actually the Switch console, because Skyrim has been on the Switch for a while. There was no issues until the Anniversary Edition content launched on it, and now it's just unplayable for so many, but Bethesda is investigating at the very least. But much of their attention right now is on Starfield, and with that I still obviously have major concerns with the performance and whether or not Bethesda will be able to manage that, because they've never been able to do that in the past. But some of the recent updates on Starfield are encouraging. Bethesda's Todd Howard recently showed off some of the dialogue systems in the game. He also mentioned that the game has over 250,000 lines of dialogue, and he introduced us to a new persuasion system, and it all looks great. This is the encouraging stuff. Bethesda going back to their roots and steering away from the more casual direction that they took with Fallout 4. Now, besides this Bethesda news, the company was also name-dropped recently by UK regulators because, as most of you know, Xbox is trying to finish up their Activision Blizzard merger, and things are not going very smoothly, as some originally had expected. And yes, that has to do with some remarks Sony has made to regulators about it, some of which is indeed a bit hypocritical. Well, gaming's biggest acquisition ever has been green-lighted by at least one government, that being Brazil, and even has the backing from a few other major AAA publishers. There are issues arising in the UK with their Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, making multiple controversial and I'd argue questionable statements that are agreeing largely with Sony's point of view. Statements that could lead to the $70 billion deal potentially collapsing. The UK's biggest reservation about the deal is the possibility of exclusivity of a major franchise like Call of Duty, which they view as being so popular that it influences users' choice of console, a perspective that Sony has used in recent arguments, which does seem a bit odd considering Sony has used exclusivity, and specifically Call of Duty exclusivity, to their advantage this last decade. Obviously, full Call of Duty games have not been made exclusive, but core features and maps being timed exclusives has been a big deal. While Xbox has made clear their intention to not go exclusive in the immediate future, there is concern that down the road that might change, and the UK CMA believes that could be damaging to their biggest competitor, Sony. The CMA, in a recent statement, specifically brought attention to the recent Bethesda acquisition, noting that Xbox wasn't very forthcoming with how games like Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6 would be handled until after the deal was complete, and it has now become clear that those games will be exclusive to Xbox's ecosystem. Xbox has since retorted against this argument by saying the importance of a franchise like Call of Duty today is being vastly overblown, as there are many popular and diverse franchises that exist in the market now. They also reiterate their plans to bring Call of Duty to more players than ever before, and point to Sony's recent activity of major acquisitions, which includes Destiny 2 maker Bungie, and their history of exclusivity, in which over 280 exclusive first and third-party titles launched on PlayStation in 2021, nearly 5 times as many as on Xbox. The CMA has floated other concerns, especially in regards to Game Pass, saying that Microsoft could use its ownership of the Activision Blizzard library to foreclose, or in other words harm, its rivals, including Sony, by making them available on Game Pass, which I think is a fair argument, maybe a better one to make, because if Call of Duty games start launching day one on Xbox for free with a Game Pass subscription, that could actually hurt PlayStation's ability to compete, because players will probably prefer that option over paying $70 for the PlayStation 5 version. Although again, Microsoft's perspective on this is that the Activision Blizzard library and its importance is being vastly overblown in an industry that has so many players nowadays. That includes Tencent, Electronic Arts, the Embracer Group, Sony, Nintendo, Take-Two Interactive, Valve, Epic Games, Ubisoft, Capcom, Konami, and so on and so forth. Seeing this happen in online communities is one thing, it's been the norm for a while now, but seeing Xbox and Sony executives taking shots at each other every few weeks is a bit exhausting. Sony, and more specifically PlayStation head Jim Ryan, has faced a ton of criticism for the arguments that they are making to regulators, Ryan recently flying to Brussels to voice his concerns to the EU, many viewing the exclusivity concerns that are being raised as hypocritical considering how Sony has spent big dollars to prevent day one Xbox releases for major third-party games such as the upcoming Final Fantasy XVI, as well as paying for exclusive in-game content for major third-party games, such as Hogwarts Legacy and Marvel's Avengers. Microsoft does hope to have the Activision Blizzard deal finalized by next year, and one does have to wonder if further compromises by Xbox will be made to reach that point. Anyway, what do you make of Sony's arguments against the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal, as well as the other stories that we discussed today? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get in video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.